meeting. If you guys could all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Bill, please.
Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hoorah.
All right. And roll call, please.
Chair Gutierrez.
Present.
Vice Chair Poikert.
Present.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Present.
Commissioner Esvander.
Present.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Present.
All present, 2 vacants.
Thank you. And now our meeting minutes. We have meeting minutes there for October 25th. Did everybody get a chance to review those minutes?
Move to approve the minutes from October 25th, 2023.
Well, hold on. We look like we... Go ahead.
Already did.
You already made them. Okay, we have a second.
Second.
All right.
Mr. Chairman? Oh, go
Aye.
ahead.
Any opposed? Okay. For some reason, mine was popping up blank. That's why I said, hold on a second, but it took a minute to load.
Did I miss oral communication?
Oh, you know what? You're right. We'll go ahead and do that next, sir. Thank you. Do we have any requests to speak on anything not on the agenda?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. Moving that we've accomplished that as well as the minutes, let's go and go to our first item.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jason Costa with the Rialto Planning Department. Our first project tonight is a conditional development permit, number 2023-0014, a request for a water store. This request is at 1.96 acre existing shopping center in the southwest corner of East Baseline Road and North Sycamore Avenue. It's zoned Community Shopping Center C1A. The proposed operation will consist of the sale of water and ice, 8 water dispensers with purified water, where customers will bring their own 1, 3, or 5 gallon jugs to collect the water. Customers can also purchase packaged cube or crushed ice. They plan to be open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week, and with 1 employee on duty at all times. For this project, I mailed public hearing notices to all the property owners within 660 feet. This was published, a public hearing notice was published in the San Bernardino Sun newspaper, and it was posted on site. We have not received any comments. This is CEQA exempt under existing facility projects. Planning's recommendation is to adopt resolution to approve conditional development permit number 2023-0014 to allow a water store at 245 East Baseline Road, subject to the findings and conditions therein.
Go and open public comment, then I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Jason, after that. I'm going to open it up. Jason, the question I have for you before we see if we have any public comments or the applicant, are there any other water stores in that shopping center?
No, not in that shopping center.
How are they? Do we have a lot of them in that area? Do you know? Or?
There's one in the shopping center across the street, and there is one in the shopping center catty corner in the northwest corner of that intersection of Riverside and Baseline.
Okay, so we're gonna have 3 of them within a quarter mile.
Thereabouts, sir, yes.
Okay. There's that much money in water. I guess I'll ask the applicant that then.
Mrs. Gallardo.
Yeah, do we have the applicant maybe an opportunity? And then do we have any requests to speak on this item by chance?
No, not on this item.
Okay, the applicant, if you can come on up, please.
This is our daughter Lily, and she'll be translating.
Hi, if you can just please state your name and your address for the record, I appreciate it.
Yes, so I'm representing my mother. My mother's name is Maria Gallardo, and she is the owner of Lily's Water and Ice.
Okay, your address for the record, please?
And it's 295 South Baseline Road.
Okay, thank you so much. So, she's not concerned with the water stores being so close next to hers?
Tú estás como pendiente de las otras business, de los otros negocios que tienen agua.
Yes, yes.
Pero como que si tú
Yeah, we're not gonna put them out of business. I'm asking if if she thinks she could survive in that climate is what I'm asking.
Yes, yeah. So she's aware, and there's also customers in that neighborhood that we used to have a previous business in Colton where we used to reside there, but we decided to relocate out here in Rialto.
Oh, okay, so this isn't your first time doing this type of
Yeah, no,
business?
yeah.
Okay. All right, I think probably in the future we need to look at, do we need to, talking to the staff, Jason there, but I guess probably, I mean, obviously it's not for this one here, limit the amount in such a density area, maybe something we can look at. We can talk about later, planning commission comments, but thank you so much. Do you have any questions of us?
No.
Okay, Thank you. Thank you. Did you guys have any questions? Have a motion?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any opposed? No? Okay, do I have a motion?
Move to adopt the attached resolution, Exhibit D, to approve a conditional development permit number 2023-0014 to allow a water store at 245 East Baseline Road, subject to the findings and conditions therein.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioner.
Okay, all right. Ready to move on to the second item? Good evening, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. I'll be making the presentation on the second public hearing item tonight. This is a project entitled the Casmalia and Linden Commerce Center. It's been filed by ETC 3 Rialto CC LP. The file numbers for reference are tentative parcel map number 2022-0002, also referred to as tentative parcel map 20541. And also conditional development permit number 2022-0016, and precise plan of design number 2022-0022, and environmental assessment review number 2022-0022. On this first slide here, showing you an image of the project site. The project site is comprised of 5 parcels of land that total 18.49 acres in size. It is located on the north side of Casmalia Street, between Linden Avenue on the west and Cedar Avenue on the east. The site has a general plan land use designation of specific plan and a zoning designation of Renaissance specific plan. Within the Renaissance specific plan, this site is designated as employment, which is an industrial designation within the Renaissance specific plan. As you can see on the image here, I've highlighted the boundary of the site in the red. The site was previously developed with 2 uses. About 3/4 of the site was occupied by a company called Columbia Steel that had their steel fabrication facility there. And then the lower left corner of the site was operated by, it was a contractor storage yard operated by Jimco Construction. So those uses are now gone from the site. To the north, you can see there are existing single-family residences, as well as to the east across Cedar Avenue. To the south, across Casmalia Street, you have a 3 industrial buildings that were built in about 2020. And then to the west, you have about a 450,000 square foot warehouse building that was built in about 2014. So just to give you an idea of the surrounding area. And so what the applicant proposes to do is to consolidate those 5 parcels of land into one 18.49 net acre parcel of land, and then redevelop the site with a 386,312 square foot industrial warehouse building. And so on this next slide, this is a copy of the parcel map. So again, the applicant with this parcel map seeks to consolidate those parcels into one parcel. The minimum lot size required in the employment designation is just over half an acre. So at 18 and a half acres, this parcel would greatly exceed the minimum lot size. Next slide, showing you the site design, the site layout. The image is oriented with the north on the right side. So you've got north on the right and east on the bottom, south on the left, and then west on the top. And so what the applicant proposes to do is to build their 386,000 square foot warehouse closer to the north end of the site. They will then place the truck court on the south side of the building, facing Casmalia Street and the existing warehouses to the south. So that it's been laid out specifically so that the truck court won't front or face any of the residences near the site. This site, the truck court will accommodate 107 truck spaces. And then there will be passenger vehicle parking areas on the east, south, and west sides of the building. And those areas will accommodate the parking of up to 167 passenger vehicles. The site has been laid out with consideration of those residences to the north and to the east. Specifically, the applicant has incorporated increased buffers on the north and east, and then also on the west side too, greater than what are required by the municipal code and the Renaissance specific plan. There is about a 60 to 70 foot setback from those residences to the north, from them to the building. Specifically, there's a 25-foot landscape planter that would be immediately adjacent to those homes. And then on the east side, where the other residents are, there will be a 30-foot landscape setback along the frontage. Then it would be passenger vehicle parking areas, and then another landscape planter before you get to the building. So both of those areas have been designed so that there will not be any truck activities occurring against those residents, and that the landscape buffers have been increased beyond what the minimum requirements are. Next, there'll also be 6 driveways that'll provide access to this project site. I've indicated the locations of each of them there with the red arrows. As you can see, there are 2 driveways connected to Linden Avenue. The northerly driveway, which is on the right side of the map, that would be for passenger vehicles only. Then the one on the left side of the map on Linden, which would be the south driveway, that would facilitate both trucks and passenger vehicles. However, there's a condition of approval in the resolution that prohibits the trucks from coming or going north on Linden. So they would all have to use Casmalia and then Linden just straight to the driveway, again, in an effort to prevent trucks from going north into those more sensitive areas. Then you have the 2 driveways connected to Casmalia Street. Those will be facilitate truck movements. And then the 2 driveways on Cedar Avenue will both be just for passenger vehicles only. Again, this was done in consideration of the residents to the east so that there will be no truck movements on Cedar Avenue from this project. Moving on to the floor plan, again, it has that orientation, just to fit it on the screen here for you. So the building will be comprised of 376,000 square feet dedicated to storage space, and then up to 10,000 square feet for office space. The offices will be located at either the southeast or southwest corners of the building, or possibly both. And then the building will have 54 dock-high doors on the south side of the building, again, facing away from the residents. The building itself will buffer the truck court. Next here, showing you a rendering of what the building would look like. This is an image if we were standing at the corner of Casmalia and Cedar, looking northwest towards the building. So you can see the office facade there at the corner. Then the full set of elevations are included in your packet. And as you can see from the elevations, this building will offer a significant amount of both horizontal and vertical wall plane articulation. The building will have significant variations in height from 42 feet up to 49. The exterior of the building will be built of concrete tilt-up walls. painted in a palette of 4 different colors. The building will also feature wood tile accents, metal eyebrow accents, glazing, and reveals. This is a landscape slide. As I mentioned earlier, with those increased buffers, the landscape coverage is at a pretty hefty 17.9%, whereas the minimum requirement's 10%. And those are, again, primarily coming for those increased setbacks, the 30-foot setback on Cedar Avenue, a 40-foot setback on Casmalia Street, and a 50-foot setback on Linden Avenue. The applicant will also install landscaping in the public right-of-way parkways. They will plant drought-tolerant plants throughout all the planters, trees every 30 linear feet, and an abundant amount of shrubs and ground cover throughout all the planters around the perimeter of the site. Next, moving on to some of the traffic analysis. There was a traffic analysis prepared by Urban Crossroads. It is attached to your agenda report. The trip generation estimates that this project will generate up to 268 truck trips daily and up to 398 passenger car trips daily. The study analyzed 12 intersections. In the study, it determined that there were cumulative impacts to 3 intersections, and these are these 3 intersections we've seen on a lot of projects. It's the Alder Avenue 210 ramps and the Alder Avenue Casmalia Street intersection. The study recommends certain improvements in order to get those intersections at an acceptable level of service, which include items such as modifying the timing of traffic signals, restriping existing right-of-way to add additional lanes, and then also just adding additional lanes at the ramps. That should say 210. And then the study determined a fair share fee of $284,048. And these improvements are actually part of the ongoing Alder Avenue interchange improvement project. So that's a project we've talked about, again, several other projects that's actively under construction now. And the applicant will just be paying their fair share towards that ongoing construction project. Continuing on, in terms of California Environmental Quality Act, there was an addendum to the program environmental impact report for the Renaissance specific plan that was prepared by TMB Planning. The addendum attached before the commission tonight determined that the project will not result in any new impacts that were not previously analyzed in the Renaissance specific plan EIR, nor would the project cause a substantial increase in the severity of any of the environmental impacts that were previously identified in the Renaissance specific plan EIR. And any potential impacts from the project would be the same or less than those that were previously analyzed in the Renaissance specific plan EIR. Next slide. Additionally, in conjunction with the project, the applicant has proposed voluntary contributions. Specifically, they've proposed to contribute one-time monetary contribution of $175,000 that would go towards public safety and public facility needs in the city. They will additionally go beyond what the normal requirements are with some of the street improvements, specifically proposing to repave the eastern half of Cedar Avenue along their entire frontage, and then also proposing to repave the eastern half of Linden Avenue from the northern edge of their project up to the intersection of Norwood, the northern limit of the intersection of Norwood, which is the next street up. Additionally, that 25-foot landscape buffer between the residents to the north and the site, the applicant proposes to install 48-inch box trees in that planter instead of the usual 24-inch box trees. So the project before you tonight is consistent with the employment land use district of the Renaissance specific plan. It's also consistent and exceeds the requirements of Chapter 18-112, the indoor storage facilities of the Rialto Municipal Code, and it is consistent with the industrial land uses to the south and west of the site. Again, as I mentioned, the truck court has been the site has been laid out so that the truck court is placed on the south side, away from the sensitive uses to the north and to the east of the site. Concrete screen walls will be installed around the truck court, and extensive landscape buffering will be provided throughout the site in order to minimize impacts to the neighboring uses. The project will serve to redevelop and improve an existing industrial site with the highest and best use that is accommodated by the employment land use district. There were also public hearing notices that were mailed out for this project to all property owners within 1,000 feet of the project site, and that notice was published in the San Bernardino Sun newspaper. There have been no comment letters received as of this time. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the resolutions before you tonight, adopting the addendum prepared for the project and approving the tentative parcel map, the conditional development permit, and the precise plan of design. And that concludes the staff presentation. The applicant has provided their own presentation, which a copy has been provided to each of you, and I can also cue it up onto the screen here whenever you're ready to hear that.
Do you have any questions for Daniel?
I have. On the contribution, 175,000, is that included, or does that include the repaving of half a Cedar and the other half a Linden? Or is that separate?
That's a good question. That is separate.
Separate?
Yes, so there will be the $175,000 contribution plus the repaving and plus the larger size trees.
Thank you.
Are the developers the same ones that's using that for storage now? Because there's a whole bunch of junk on that property.
You know, I don't know that. Maybe we can get that information from them if they're already starting to store some material on site.
But all that'll be removed once the building's built.
Yes, absolutely. Anything that's on site now will be removed, demolished, et cetera, to accommodate the development.
Daniel, this area seems to be adjacent to quite a few large warehouses, and you have quite a few other ones that are built right in front of it that are empty for advertising. Do you feel we're maybe at an overproliferation of large warehouses in that area, so dense, right next to those houses?
So my understanding is that the larger buildings tend to fill up quicker than the smaller buildings. From what my experience talking to some of our brokers that do business in town is that basically anything that's about at that 100,000 or larger tend to fill up pretty quickly. Whereas those ones that are smaller are where they're seeing a little more vacancy.
There seems to be, there's a lot of activity to the traffic in that particular area. When is that going to be finished?
Yeah, great.
The Alder Avenue interchange project?
Yeah.
It has the finish date on, there's a board that's been posted for the public to see. And if I recall correctly, it says that they anticipate about summer of next year, 2024, that the project would be completed.
Okay, it for next year then?
It's an ongoing under construction
No, I meant
project.
this project.
Oh, well, this project would not be finished in that time, if that's what the concern is. That, you know, from tonight, their next step would be to go into plan check for construction drawings. And, you know, construction, once they start that, is probably minimum 12 months, 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
So the Alder interchange project should be completed long before that. It's an active ongoing construction project.
Okay.
I have a question, Daniel. You said that in the beginning, the trucks will only we can only go to driving to the right, they can't go left? Is that what you said? But when they coming out of?
Yeah.
What gonna stop them going to the left?
Well, that's a good comment, good question. There are conditions of approval that are placed on the resolution before the commission tonight that direct the trucks where to go. One of the conditions also includes installing signage at the driveways, again, also directing the trucks where to go. And at that point, it becomes, you know, monitoring and enforcement. Once there's a tenant in there, if the city becomes aware of an issue where the trucks are, let's say, going north on Linden through the neighborhoods, since there's a conditional development permit, that's where we could bring it back to the commission if we need to enforce it.
Similar to Target.
Yes,
That they have.
but yeah,
they don't-
this
that
one, there
they
is a
don't
conditional
follow.
development permit, correct.
That's a nightmare for the community right next to it. Same condition. All right. Okay, let's go and open the public and then give the
Wanna hear
applicant.
the applicant presentation?
Yeah, applicant
Okay.
opportunity to speak, yeah.
Who's giving that? That's it?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to use the mouse, I don't see the remote.
So just click.
Yeah, you
There
just
we
use
go.
the scroll.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Casey. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. Thank you for hearing our application this evening. My name is Peter Schaefer with Aries Industrial Management. We're the owners and developers of the subject property. Aries acquires existing and develops new first-class industrial buildings across the country that we hold and manage for the long term internally. This model of long-term ownership requires us to construct buildings to the highest standards to attract first-class businesses as our tenants today and in the future. The subject site has a long history of industrial use. There were two different businesses operating at the time Aries acquired the property in December 2021. The southwest corner of the site was owned by Jimco Construction, who operated a railroad repair and maintenance company, using the site as a laydown yard for materials and equipment, a small office building and small storage building. The remaining 3/4 of the site was owned by Columbia Steel, who operated a steel fabrication business dating back to 1985. There's a 75,000 square foot metal building in the northwest corner with the loading areas immediately adjacent to the residential neighborhood to the north and loading doors that were left open during operations. 10-ton cranes move steel through the shop to the various pieces of heavy equipment used in production. Steel beams were stored and handled in a large outdoor storage yard with diesel-powered equipment and large mechanical conveyance system. Site paving deteriorated over time. There's little or no provisions for dust control. The office buildings had asbestos-containing materials. There's no stormwater management system. Stormwater from the site simply sheet flowed to the southwest corner of the site where it spilled onto Casmelia and into the public storm drain system. The proposed 386,000 square foot building will be a Class A speculative industrial building designed for a host of uses, but most likely warehouse and distribution, which is why we're seeking the conditional development permit tonight. It's been designed to serve the local economy today and in the future. The project features a large truck court oriented away from the residences, screened from the public view, and has 54 loading docks and 56 trailer parking stalls. There's approximately 200 linear feet of on-site truck queuing at the entrance on Linden, and approximately 78 feet of on-site truck queuing at the entrance on Casmelia, with an additional 240 feet of queuing in the center median lane. This center median would also prohibit trucks from making a left out of the Casmelia drive approaches. But this abundance of parking and queuing is all provided for operational efficiency for the tenant, but also so trucks stay off city streets and do not impede traffic. The building features abundant windows and skylights, and the support columns are spaced in a grid measuring 56 by 60 feet, providing bays that measure 3,360 square feet of clear span space. We're seeking LEED Silver certification from the U.S. Green Building Council, and the low-impact stormwater development, the low-impact development stormwater management system collects stormwater, treats it, and filters it back into the ground through massive infiltration chambers. Before we acquired the site, we initiated a public outreach campaign to understand the neighbors' sentiments on the past use and of our proposed development. We engaged Kennedy Communications, a public affairs consultant, to engage the closest residences on both sides of Norwood to the north and on Cedar Avenue to the east, totaling 43 residences canvassed. Multiple visits were made to each residence, and materials describing the proposed development were distributed. Most feedback we received expressed gratitude that Columbia Steel was moving out, complaining about excessive noise and dust. Several respondents were supportive or okay with the development, and a couple said they wish something else would be built. Working with the city planning department, we also hosted a community meeting at the Sunrise Church at Ayala and Riverside Avenue. Feedback was a mixed bag. Negative comments were related to warehouse development in general. There are some questions about the truck routing. So residences didn't want trucks using Linden or Cedar, and after outlining the proposed truck route, they seemed to be satisfied with the proposed truck route. Many of the respondents thought the development would be a big improvement over the Columbia Steel operations. We also presented the project to the Economic Development Committee, where we received support from council members and city staff. Overall, we believe this development is a positive contribution to Rialto. It will bring a modern facility to remove blight and strengthen the economy, add local jobs so residents are not commuting to Ontario, Anaheim, and LA. $300,000 of school fees for the Rialto Unified School District. $3 million in public right-of-way improvements constructed with the building, including new sidewalks, curbs, gutters, landscaping, street paving, and undergrounding of the overhead power lines. Over $2 million in development impact fees, including about $1.1 million for transportation, the additional $284,000 in fair share contributions, and the voluntary contributions Daniel mentioned. The development will be built substantially with union labor, ensuring good wages and local sourcing, including the Laborers International, carpenters, electricians, operators, plumbers, and pipe fitters. Appreciate your consideration and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Question?
I have a question. How far away from the Ferguson Park is this warehouse located?
I do not have that exact distance.
About a mile away?
Andy, David, would you have Ferguson Park? No, it's about 2,000 feet
Mile
from
and a
the
half around.
school, but I don't have.
Yeah, Ferguson Park in Las Colinas. It's easily, I'd say 2 miles or
2
more.
miles,
Yeah.
About the Carter High School, right? It's about the same, right, across the street?
Yeah, Carter High School, much further north of this site on Linden.
And the reason for that question is because of the buffer zone. Because my concern is with pollution and all that kind of stuff,
Of course.
and the traffic and.
Yeah. I have a few questions.
Sure.
So what is the height of the warehouse view from the residence? I know we're buffering it out. I know it's distance, it creates an illusion there, maybe not look as big.
Yes, the warehouse, the internal clearance is 40 feet, so that translates to a maximum ridge height about 48 feet. The overall area does slope downward from north to south, so there's about a 6-foot difference between the property line to the edge of the building where it steps down. So, there's the existing wall that's back there. We are sensitive to that impact. That's why we're proposing larger trees, so we get to mature trees, a couple years quicker than you would otherwise. They're pepper trees, great for screening, evergreen, wide canopies.
Two things. So we have, obviously, you heard some of our comments, we have a lot of warehouses in our city.
Sure.
Probably more than we need, to some people's opinion. Some of the larger ones are dug in deeper into the ground, so that way they're not such an eyesore like Target. There's a ginormous one next to a whole residential community. You wouldn't know it's there because it's down. Is that something you're open to, or did you think about that for one, and are you open to it? That's the first question I have for you. The other is, these other fees, I mean, they go toward helping pay for offsetting things, but the reality on the ground is that the increased vehicle and truck traffic that is caused by a lot of these, it's real time every day, and it's impacting a lot of folks. And it's not really your concern because it's the city's concern, but we're not addressing the labor demand on traffic enforcement, on the need for additional traffic enforcement officers.
Sure.
So with that, I mean, the $175,000 toward public safety, I mean, that's like 3 months of an FTE. That really isn't much. But what I was thinking, maybe entertaining the idea of funding overtime for one FTE traffic officer for a few years once it's built to help offset that, if that'd be something you'd be open to.
I'll take the questions one at a time, I guess.
Yeah.
No, so we did not consider building the warehouse into the ground. Not something I've honestly studied before. I tell you, our grades are governed by the existing streets and where they are. So those are really your guideposts, and you civil engineer the site from there. So there's a lot of cut coming from the back of the site, filling to the north of the site, filling to the south of the site to kind of balance and have a level building. But it's something we haven't considered. And onto the transportation impacts, yeah, I'm certainly sensitive to those concerns. The city's obviously seen a lot of growth. I think population almost tripling in the last 40 years, and a lot of growth in the recent term. You know, with that, I would say that the contribution was crafted in consultation with city staff. We don't pretend to be the ones to know best where to put it. So that's, you know, with Colby and Daniel and, you know, and crafting the language there to give the city some leeway and putting the money where it's needed, and commercial vehicle code enforcement certainly being one of those buckets. And I would just add that, you know, all development has impacts. You know, the transportation analysis is rigorous, the CEQA process is rigorous, none of which showed any significant impact from the project. And interestingly, we also did an alternative use analysis looking at other uses that are allowable under the Renaissance specific plan. You know, warehouse is actually a low intensity land use. You look at even a 313,000 square foot manufacturing building on the site, you'd have almost double the trips. A 274,000 square foot office, significantly more than that. And a 196,000 shopping center, trips over 7,000 according to the same modeling software we use to model these projects. And so, and then the impacts are equally proportional for the air quality and greenhouse gas emissions as well. I mean, warehouse is significantly under any of those other three alternatives.
I mean, the concern there, though, absent the initial jobs of skilled labor that comes in to build the warehouse, once that's gone, warehouses are very highly automated. They don't really create much high-income jobs, so it's kind of a farce a little bit. I think if you look at it long-term, you have a few skilled that automate to maintain the machinery that's the highly automated part of it. So that's the other thing. It eats up a lot of real estate that doesn't really change hands and increase property value sale over time. It's a slow bleed. So I think that's the other real reality of huge warehouses, especially when it's adjacent to so many of them.
Sure, and that low intensity comes with fewer jobs than an office or 100% manufacturing, of course. I would just note that, you know, Columbia Steel employed about 100 people, starting at $15 an hour. A warehouse of this size, you'd expect to have 300 plus employees. Just depends on how many shifts and how that's arranged. And those typically start at $20 an hour and up from there. The automation is certainly part of the business, but it's really, the impact is significantly more on these fulfillment centers where you're talking about 50 plus clear buildings, multiple mezzanine decks, robots retrieving product, and the significant majority of these type of buildings, and frankly, a fulfillment center wouldn't look at this as a great building. We don't have some of the features that they would want, but it is, the building does have great bones. I mean, we looked at doing nothing to the project but restriping the truck yard to add some auto parking. You could get to about 182,000 square feet of manufacturing, 192,000 square feet of warehouse, and 10,000 square feet of office space, and that's a very realistic mix for someone who's doing manufacturing. You're never going to have a building that's 100% manufacturing. There's incoming, there's outgoing. So having a building like this is intended to be cycle-proof and be leased for a long time. So, I mean, we're long-term owners. We think about these things. Today, this market, it's a warehouse building. I wouldn't be surprised if a manufacturer came along, but that's not, you know, that wouldn't be my first guess. But 10 years from now, who knows? And a city that has existing high-quality product is going to be able to offer space to a manufacturer or someone else coming in at a lower cost than if you're developing from the ground up 10 years from now.
Thank you so much for your answer.
So you're the owner and you're the, it's not.
I work for the ownership, yes. I wish I was personally the owner, that would, but yes, yeah.
Okay, but do you have somebody in mind that you can bring in, or are you going to?
At this time, it'd be too early to identify, but I mean, we lease to a host of different retailers. Third-party logistics companies are probably the biggest share of the leasing market right now. I think somewhere between 30 and 40% of, depending on which market you're looking in across the country. And so that's a company that specializes in logistics.
Right.
They may have one client. It could be Lowe's or Home Depot, and they're typically those companies will do their own, but oftentimes these third-party logistics companies will have a couple different clients that they're servicing from the same warehouse.
Makes sense.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. One more question, sir.
Sure. Oh, yes, excuse me, sorry.
How are you going to ensure the trucks are going to stay off Linden and Cedar?
Well, for Cedar, a truck couldn't even make the movements to utilize those drive approaches on that side of the street. Like, I don't know how to operate this, but going back to the site plan, those drive approaches are designed for automobiles. A truck couldn't physically make those turns. Linden, there is a truck drive approach on Linden. And, Daniel mentioned there's enforcement within the conditional development permit. And I would just say for practical purposes, the closest way to the freeway is getting on the 210 at Ayala. So, there's signage and other provisions there, but, we, as long-term owners, we have an interest in making sure our tenants operate correctly. We put these kind of conditions that affect the project and operations in their leases, so we maintain our own layer of enforcement, underneath the broader city umbrella of the conditional development permit.
And Cedar?
Yeah, Cedar, again, it's not even physically possible for a truck to use those drive approaches, so I suppose if you're saying if they're coming down Cosmalia, again, they can't turn left on Cosmalia from the project. So if they're coming out the Linden Drive approach, making a left, and then making a left up Cedar, there's no physical impediment to stop them from doing that. I don't think it's a efficient truck route, but again, would be, subject to commercial vehicle code enforcement and, the conditional development permits on the line at that point. So that would be the governor there.
Thank you, appreciate it. Do you have any requests to speak on this item?
We do.
First one, please.
First speaker is Kenny Lundgren.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Speaker John Leno.
Hi, Mr. Leno, if you'd please state your address for the record, please, I appreciate it.
Yes, again, good evening, Commissioners. My name is John Lanou. I live at 1557 West Norwood Street, Rialto, California.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. And by the way, living in that location, I have a warehouse directly behind me, and I see no problem with that. I know there's 17 houses that are behind this proposed project, and I know there's concerns there, but I know with my place and our neighbors, why we really have no problem with that. The height will be about the same, and so, yes, it does block your view a little bit, but directly across the street from the proposed project is another set of warehouses that are approximately the same height, so, it doesn't really affect it that much. I know that the proposed project currently has homeless and graffiti all over the project, and homeless have been breaking into the project, so I know we'll be glad as neighbors to see that blight gone from the neighborhood. And I'm in favor of the project. I know people complain about too many warehouses. Maybe we could have an apartment house or more housing, but I think that the warehouses with their landscaping and it's maintained year-round, and the trash is picked up, where now trash is a problem with McDonald's down the street, why there are still, people are going to be discarding their trash, but at least at the warehouse property, the people that are maintaining it will be picking that up, and so it'll be much of an improvement. When we had the meeting, neighborhood meeting, back on December 1st of 2021, I was present, and at the time I made mention that I suggested that this project have solar panels. You've got 383,000 square feet of roof. Why doesn't this city require solar panels on top of all of these warehouses? We need the electricity. We don't need to be buying electricity or using up our natural resources for electricity when we've got all that square space for solar panels. Also, state of California, 2035 will be requiring all new vehicles to be zero emission. So again, at the meeting, I recommended that we have charging stations for the trucks, charging stations for the employees, charging stations for visitors, because most of our vehicles, over 40% of the vehicles sold in the state of California now are electric, all electric or hybrid. And so with charging stations, that would be a great benefit for the area and would cut down on the emissions from the trucks and from the vehicles coming in. And we've seen the project here this evening. It gives the account of trucks that'll be coming. And
Thank you, sir. We'll take it as a support for the project.
Thank you.
3 minutes.
Also,
and that's it, sir.
Okay, that's my time?
Yeah, 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
The next speaker is Nathaniel Lopez.
Could I make a comment?
Yes.
When he was talking about the solar, the reason the city does not require it is they get Rialto City utility tax off of that. So they really don't want solar on the buildings.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting opinion, as there might be some there, but yeah, I don't know where that gentleman went. Where did he go?
He's there.
Yeah. No, we do have a utility tax that the city weighs heavy on. Probably without that utility tax, we'd go bankrupt because there's not a lot of sales transfers in the city. We don't have a lot of point of sale, which is an unfortunate. But warehouses aren't point of sale other than Metline, which is awesome. They're a point of sale. There's no sales tax revenue from any of the warehouses that I know of in Rialto other than that one.
So now we're just concerned about money for the city, right?
One more time?
Money for the city?
No, I'm just telling you the reality of what the city utility tax generates from. That's it. No opinion whatsoever, just stating the statement. So go ahead, sir. Can you please state your address for the record after your name, please?
Yes, my name is Nathaniel Lopez, and my address is 743 North Idlewild Avenue, right here in the city of Rialto.
Okay.
I've been here about 15 years. I just wanted to say that I'm in favor of the project. The project and the developer, especially with using union workers to build the project, as we don't have to travel so far away to work. I mean, right now, I've had a job in Santa Clarita. I have another one. We always work in Orange County or Los Angeles. It's just way too far from home to go. I'd love to see this project be built right here locally in the city. And I just wanted to say I'm in favor of the project.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Have anyone else request?
The next speaker is Eddie Campos.
Mr. Campos. Oh, Ed, if you could please state your address.
Yeah, my name is Eddie Campos. I'm here in favor for the project simply because the developer is being very responsible on how they build their projects. They're being responsible to the city, even going as far as every time we hear about them, making sure that the truck routes are not going to impact their neighbors. Okay. It seems to me like they were very sensitive to being so close to the neighborhoods that they probably looked at that before anything else.
Can you please provide your address, please?
Yes, I live in the city of Fontana.
Okay.
Once again, I do represent 800 members of the union carpenters here in the city of Rialto. We would not want them to be driving to LA anymore. Yes, you guys always bring up the fact that once they're done, they're gone. That's completely true. But when they are working here, the time that they're here, they get to enjoy with their families. We got a sister here that's going to be speaking soon. She's here with her kids. Why? Because she's working out in Orange County, taking 3 hours to get home. So she needs to be here with her kids to be able to speak on this, because she'd rather work down the street and have to work 3 hours. Drive 3 hours home in the afternoon. She could spend, even if it's 2 months, that's 2 months that she's going to enjoy with her family, with her kids. So I am in favor of the project, simply because I want my union brothers and sisters to be close to home, and the developer is very responsible. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do we have anyone else wishing to speak?
2 more.
Okay.
The next speaker is Selena Gomez.
Ms. Gomez?
Sorry, Gonzalez.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Gonzalez. If you could please state your address for the record, I appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Selena Gonzalez, and it's okay, I get it a lot. My address is 3383 North Poppy Drive, so right there by Casera and Carter. So literally, this is like minutes from me. Currently, right now, I am a third stage apprentice. I am working at the OC Sanitation, doing finish work out there. It's been amazing and a blessing doing what I do. However, I do wish that I have more work, jobs close to home. So if this were to pass, like my brother had said, instead of me driving, literally waking up like at 3:30 to go work out in the OC, I could work here in Rialto. I've been a resident of Rialto for about 27 years. So it'd be nice to have my family close to home, well, to work close to home with my family, you know. And I'm in full support of the industrial projects. And I know there's plenty of other families, members, union members out there who are just like me, who struggle on a daily basis, working Monday through Friday and even overtime on Saturdays. But I'm full in support. Okay, just wanted to make that known. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it. Next speaker,
Al Sanchez.
Mr. Sanchez.
How you doing, council members? My name is Al Sanchez. I'm a member of LaUna.
If you could please provide your address for the record, please.
So I'm here for our members that can't be here tonight, that have to get up really early, and...
Can you provide your address for the record, please?
My address?
Yeah, for the record.
My address is 142 Polk Street, Oceanside, California.
Oceanside, okay. Thank you, sir.
So we team up with developers like this because you guys heard he pays us a good union wage. That gives us a pension. That gives us insurance, annuity. I've been in the union almost 40 years. I've worked off Andreas Drive. I've worked on Winchester. I've worked all around Riverside, San Diego, LA. The bottom line, these contractors care about a good, safe job. We have apprentices that go through this program, certified by the state. They really help out, and they really want the right thing done here. And we hope that you guys support this, because we do. Thank you for your
Thank you. Do we have anyone else requesting to speak?
We have one more.
Okay.
Orlando Garcia.
Mr. Garcia?
Good evening, commissioners and members of the public. My name is Orlando Garcia, and I know the Brown Act's a little vague on requiring addresses as a commission.
One more time?
I said I know the Brown Act's a little vague on requesting addresses from members of the public speaking at city planning commissions and councils. But I'll give you a little bit of background. I went to Boyd Elementary School, went to Jehu Middle School, went to Rialto High School, class of 2003, and I'm on Teakwood Avenue, Rialto. So I'm very familiar with this area. Been around, born and raised in this town.
You say you live on Teakwood Avenue? What avenue?
Teakwood Avenue.
Teakwood, okay.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with the Brown Act, just so you're aware. I'm in full support of this project. I know we're listening to the developers. These are the people that are experts in these type of things. They do the traffic analysis, their EIR report, and I appreciate the questions you guys have, because they're legit. They're questions that the community has. Obviously, they do their due diligence with the community. We have community members coming up in here, speaking on behalf of the community and stating back to whatever date, December of 21, and still have the decency to come in here and speak on behalf of these projects. If you drive down Casmalia, it's exactly what you see. These projects are going to bring a lot of jobs, not only in the building process, but after the fact. If you go there, there's no jobs there right now. This city needs the development. They're doing their due diligence. In my opinion, they're checking all the boxes. The Renaissance area is great over there. It's bringing light to the city. Anything above that 210, just east of the residential there, is zoned for this type of work. I think it's a no-brainer to me that we push these type of projects through, because it gives people in the community like Selena here opportunity to live and continue to work in this area. We have a lot of people traveling out of this area, and we're in hopes that some of the kids from Eisenhower and Carter High School would have an opportunity that are graduating, that would have an opportunity to work on the project. Not only this project, but very similar projects like this. After construction, there's still opportunity there, but I think you guys need to really consider about pushing these projects through to give the city and the people of the direct residential area an opportunity to live and work in their community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We have one more.
Okay.
Hugo Ayala.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Hugo Ayala. I live right across the street of the driveway that is being implemented in this project.
So what's the street?
2147 North Cedar Avenue.
Okay.
I'm a new owner of this property. I moved in this property on May, and so far it's been very peaceful. There is a dust, yes, and it's windy in Rialto.
A little bit, huh?
But I guess we can deal with the dust. I am a bit concerned about the driveway right in front of my property after I see these plans. I didn't get a chance to go to these meetings in the past. Because, again, I just recently moved to the property. That's the only thing that I would like to see if you guys perhaps can take a look at on this project. I'm concerned about the traffic of trucks driving in that
You
area.
said you're on Sierra Avenue, you said? I'm trying to, there's no street over the warehouse.
Cedar.
What is it?
Cedar,
Oh, I'm
2147
sorry, I'm so
North Cedar
sorry.
Avenue.
I thought you said Sierra. Okay,
Yeah.
Cedar Avenue. So your house is right adjacent on the side?
I'm right across, right. My house is the fourth house from Casamelia.
Closer to
going north.
Casmalia? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I see. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
So I'm just concerned about that driveway being there. That's, from what I see, it looks like a great development. Everybody's here speaking on the behalf of the project moving forward, but I didn't hear anybody mention anything about the traffic, other than Mr. Pokert, John Pokert?
Yeah.
So that's my only concern.
This truck's
How
leaving or
is
coming
that
off?
going to affect our street for the neighborhood?
Okay. We'll ask a few questions for you then.
Thank you.
Anything else you concerned?
No. That, and of course, the height, obviously, you already talked about that.
Yeah.
I know that there's other warehouses, and the other neighbor who spoke in behalf to this project is on the other side. So this affects my view directly. One of the things that I love about my property is that I can see the sunset from my living room, and I know this could affect that. I don't know. But those are my 2 cents.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We can ask the applicant to come back up if he could. What's that?
I can also speak on the driveway.
Oh, but that's what I was going to ask him about. Go ahead. Never mind, sir. We can ask Daniel here.
Yep. Let me get to my presentation here real quick so we can put it on the screen. Okay, so when I went through the presentation, I did address the 6 driveways. And, okay, so we can see the site layout. And again, this is 90-degree orientation.
So it's the bottom of the-
Cedar
bottom
is
of
the
the picture,
bottom.
right?
Yeah, Cedar is the bottom of this image, okay? So there are 2 driveways proposed. These driveways will be for passenger vehicles only, no trucks out of those driveways. The site is laid out such that the trucks cannot make those turn movements in order to even get to those driveways. So these are passenger vehicle only. no trucks on Cedar Avenue.
Like employees.
Employees only, yep, or emergency vehicles, in those situations, but no trucks. The trucks will only be utilizing the 2 driveways on Casmalia Street on the left-hand side of the map and the 1 driveway on Linden Avenue at the top left of the map. And all of these trucks, via signage and the conditions of approval, are directed to use Casmalia Street to and from Alder Avenue. No trucks going anywhere on Cedar Avenue or north of the site on Linden Avenue into any of those residential areas.
What's the setback again, Daniel, on both sides? It's more setback than in the back, right?
That's correct. So the setback on Cedar Avenue from the property line, the building is set back 88 feet. And then, of course, the width of the street itself to Cedar Avenue, which is, I think 60 or 64 foot. So essentially from the front yards of those residences on Cedar, it's about 150 feet from their front yard to the building. Okay, that'll be the distance. And then on the north side, it is exactly 60 feet. So there's that 25-foot landscape planter, then a 26-foot wide fire lane, and then I believe a 9-foot planter adjacent to the building. And from their perspective, this building will be below that 25-foot setback is sloped downward. And so, yes, the height of the building will still be higher, but the finished grade of this development site will be much lower than the finished grade of the
Daniel,
residence.
I can't remember if it was how long, it was a while ago, but we had projects that came up where you had a visual a sheet in there.
Yep.
That talked about the property view, basically a projection.
Yep.
Maybe on these other future ones we come up here, can you add that in there?
Absolutely.
'Cause
Yep.
This comes up all the time by residents.
We can provide cross sections of exactly what you're asking for.
So this one was, obviously, it's kind of hard. A 50-foot building is going to block. some
Yeah,
of the
they,
view.
they have essentially designed it to be as low as it can be to meet the grade of Casmalia Street, right? So that the driveways are level, and they're not driving up into the site. And so their driveway will be level with Casmalia, and then to maintain that level building floor. And then on the north side, that's where they're going to have this slope up to the finished grade of those residential properties.
Okay. Thank you. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, again, that's one concern about that driveway being right in front of my property.
Yeah.
Trying to make their way through.
Yeah.
I have children, so if this is going to affect my daily life, unlike the union workers that are gonna come and work for a couple of months, this is something that is going to affect, perhaps the rest of my life. So,
Yeah.
of course, I'm concerned, that's the reason why I'm here today.
You're concerned about the 19-year-old kid with a loud muffler in line, one car behind the other to go to work. The 19-year-old warehouse worker with a loud muffler driving in front of your house every day.
That is also a concern, but obviously that's something that I already have experienced. Those warehouses that are empty, kids like to go play there, right? And I hear that from my property. My concern is the vagrants trying to make those U-turns. If I do a vehicle outside on the street or whatever, my children are playing, that's what my concern is.
All right, thank you, sir.
And especially because I saw the image and the driveway is literally right in front of my property.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay.
Any other requests to speak items?
No, sir, that was it.
Move to close? Do I have a motion to close?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Do I have a motion to entertain?
Adopt that attached resolution Exhibit H, I, J, and K, thereby adopting the addendum prepared for the project and thereby approving the consolidation of 5 parcels of land ABN 1133-491-01-02-03-04 and -05 into one parcel, into one 18.48 net acres parcel of land in development of use of the 386,312 square foot industrial warehouse building on the same parcel, subject to finding and condition therein.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
I oppose. So, You got that, Tally? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Daniel, if you could please make sure we're talking with this gentleman here, and then we could look if there's any way we can help mitigate that. You know, I don't know if we can have employee interest on the other side, because I think the other side doesn't have residential there, but I mean, we already voted on the damn thing.
Absolutely. I will, I've offered to speak with him after this next item.
Okay, thank you.
There's homeless, graffiti. It's a mess.
All right, next item, please.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. I'll be making now the presentation on the third public hearing item tonight.
Bye-bye. You're welcome. All right.
Okay, so this next public hearing item is entitled the Harupa and Willow Industrial Project.
Nice.
It was filed by DP South Harupa LLC. The file numbers for reference are Conditional Development Permit number 2022-0056, Precise Plan of Design number 2022-0078, and Environmental Assessment Review number 2022-0074. So on the next slide, we'll go over the project site location. The project site is comprised of 3 parcels of land that are 6.55 acres in size that are located at the northwest corner of Harupa Avenue and Willow Avenue. This site has a general plan land use designation of light industrial and a zoning designation of light manufacturing M1. There are, or at least were, 2 non-conforming single-family residences previously on the site, and then the majority of the site is vacant. And then, as you can see here on the aerial image, to the north of the project site, there's an existing truck terminal facility. To the east, on the other side of Willow Avenue, there are several industrial developments, mainly different contractor yards. And then to the south, across Harupa Avenue, there are a few non-conforming single-family residences. And then to the west, those areas immediately to the west are actually within the jurisdiction of the county of San Bernardino, but you can see that they are comprised of single-family residential uses. And so what the applicant proposes to do is develop this site with a 119,908 square foot industrial warehouse building, and then install associated on-site and off-site improvements. And the building will accommodate various storage and distribution uses. Next slide showing you the site layout. The building will be placed in the center of this project site with a truck court on the north side of the building facing that existing truck terminal use. Then passenger vehicle parking areas will be located, one there at the northeast corner of the site, and then the majority of it on the south end of the site along the Harupa Avenue frontage. The passenger vehicle parking areas will provide spaces for 83 passenger vehicles, and the truck court will accommodate the parking of up to 54 trucks and trailers. There will be 3 driveways that will provide access to this site. You can see they're shown with the red arrows. 2 driveways on Harupa, the left driveway being a 35-foot wide driveway, and then the easterly driveway at 26-foot wide, and then on Willow Avenue, a 40-foot wide driveway. The site will also have landscape planters around the entire perimeter of the site itself and the perimeter of the building, with the exception of inside the truck court. Additionally, the building will have screen walls around the entire truck court and also all along the entire west property line to divide the site from those existing residential uses that are located in the county's jurisdiction. Next slide, showing you the floor plan. The building will accommodate up to 114,908 square feet of space dedicated towards storage uses. Then also accommodate up to 5,000 square feet for office use. and the office will be located at the southeast corner of the building. The building will have 20 dock-high doors located on the north side of the building. This is a rendering showing you what the building would look like if we were standing at the intersection of Harupa and Willow and looking northwest. So we can see the office there at the corner of the building and its facade featuring the wood tile accents and the metal trim around all the windows, glazing. The building, if we look back on the floor plan, but we can also just see the shadows here on the elevations, have significant, again, horizontal articulation with those recesses that have a 3-foot minimum depth just to help provide relief along those wall plane expanses. The building also has those height variations you can see, where the height varies from 40 feet up to 44 feet. Again, just to break up the height along those wall planes. The building will be of concrete tilt-up wall construction. It'll have a palette of 5 colors painted throughout it. Again, the wood tile accents will be featured not just at the corner, but throughout all the elevations. You can kind of see some there on both sides there of the rendering. Then the generous amounts of glazing, again, on all sides of the building, reveals and metal trim. Next slide, this is another landscape exhibit for you. The proposed landscape coverage is at 11.5%, which exceeds the minimum requirement. And that landscape coverage is coming primarily from a 45-foot landscape setback along Willow Avenue. And that is there specifically due to the height of the building, so that they meet the setback requirement of the municipal code. And then the 15-foot landscape setback on Harupa Avenue, again, to meet the requirement of the municipal code. The applicant will also install parkway landscaping within the public right-of-way parkways on both Harupa and Willow Avenue. And they'll plant drought-tolerant plants in all of these planters, trees every 30 linear feet, and shrubs and ground cover throughout all of those planters. There was a focused traffic study prepared for this project by Kimley Horn and Associates that is attached to your agenda report. The trip generation within that study estimates that the project will generate up to 205 vehicle trips daily. Broken down, that would be up to 82 truck trips daily and 123 passenger car trips daily. The traffic study analyzed 5 intersections, 2 local intersections, and then the 3 project driveways. And in the study, it concluded that with the project and the existing trips in the area, that all those intersections will operate at a level of service B or better. And so that exceeds the city's requirement of LOS D or better, and therefore no mitigation is necessary or required for any of those 5 intersections. In terms of California Environmental Quality Act for this project, there was an initial study prepared for the project by Kimley Horn and Associates. The study determined that the project will have a less than significant impact on the environment with the incorporation of various mitigation measures. As a result, a mitigated negative declaration has been prepared, and that there's a mitigation monitoring and reporting program that is attached to your agenda report that details the various mitigation measures. The initial study mitigated negative declaration was circulated for a 20-day public comment period from August 25th, 2023 to September 14th, 2023. No comment letters were received during that 20-day public comment period. The project before you tonight, it is consistent with the M1 zone. It does meet or exceed all the development standards of Chapter 18-112, the indoor storage facilities section of the municipal code. The city's design guidelines and those, it is consistent with those existing industrial uses to both the north and the east of the project site. The site has been laid out specifically to place the truck court on the north side so that it faces away from the residents to the south and to the west. There will be concrete screen walls installed around the truck court, and extensive landscaping will be planted around the perimeter of the entire site to help minimize impacts to those surrounding areas. The environmental studies that are attached in your agenda report conclude that the impacts of the project will be less than significant with the incorporation of the mitigation measures that are detailed in the MMRP, which is attached to the agenda report. And the project will serve to develop an industrial zone site with the highest and best use that's accommodated by the M1 zone. Public hearing notices were mailed to all property owners within 1,000 feet for this public hearing tonight. That notice was also published in the San Bernardino Sun newspaper. Staff did receive 7 letters of support for this project. One from the Rialto Police Benefit Association, and then the others were from various residents and businesses in the area. Those letters of support are attached to your agenda report. And then there was one letter of opposition that was also provided to the staff. It was from the Advocates for the Environment. In their letter, which is attached to your agenda report, they objected to the CEQA determination of a mitigated negative declaration and recommended that an environmental impact report be prepared for this project. In coordination with the applicant's consultant, a response letter was prepared, which is attached to your agenda report, that concludes that the analysis in the mitigated negative declaration does not warrant the preparation of an environmental impact report. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the attached resolutions before you tonight to adopt the mitigated negative declaration and approve the conditional development permit and precise plan of design. And that concludes my presentation. The applicant has their own presentation that they would also like to share with the Planning Commission.
Any questions? Questions of staff before we open? All right, let's go and open the public hearing.
You want the applicant to present first?
Yeah.
Okay. You just have to scroll because I don't have the remote. Scroll, yeah.
Okay. All right. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. Thank you for being with us here tonight. I know it's late. My name is Benjamin Horning. I'm Director of Development over at Dado Properties. Just before we jump in, just a little bit about Dado Properties, the company. We've been around a long time. It's a family-owned business and has remained a family-owned business for well over 60 years, probably going on 70 now. We have a large presence kind of throughout the Inland Empire in terms of property that we own and different jurisdictions that we've invested in. Traditionally, we are long-term holders of property, so we do like to build relationship and trust with the various communities that we do invest in, and remain, committed to long-term partners. And I'll try not to be too repetitive from what Mr. Casey presented here, but just a little bit about this property. As you can see, a photo of the existing site as it stands today, and then kind of what it would look like after completion. We specifically identified the city of Rialto and have, for several other properties that we own as well, and this specific location where, to invest several, millions of dollars into the city and into the community. And just briefly, I'll try to just run through this. Just a few design features that we tried to incorporate here. Just, first off, building orientation, I think is very important here. We tried to make sure that the docks are facing away from the street and any residents that would be impacted. We tried to orient the traffic away from those, the neighbors as well. So the main access point is intended to be off of Willow into that truck court area there, and the autos would really come off of Harupa Avenue. A few other things, just we tried to incorporate enhanced landscaping along the frontage. I think, what we've done and are proposing currently on Willow Avenue is going to be an amenity to the community. And we've also tried to incorporate several sustainable features as well. 15 kilowatts of solar panels. We're going to be doing some EV charging, and about 13 EV ready parking stalls as well. So quickly, I kind of mentioned this already, but just in terms of site access and circulation, the northernmost driveway is intended to be car and truck point of access, mainly into the truck court. And as I mentioned, that would be the main point of entry for any trucks. And the entries off of Harupa would be mainly autos, but the one entry on the far left there would be car and truck. And those are just a few different views from various angle points there. Quickly, as Daniel mentioned, this is compatible with the surrounding uses, does fit within the M1 zoning. So we do feel this use in this location is appropriate and right for the area. In terms of truck routes, naturally, the way that the location of the site actually does lend itself to quick access to the truck route going up South Riverside Avenue and also going north on Willow Avenue to get to the freeway, but ultimately leading to the 10 there, which that route would all be through industrial products. So no, it wouldn't be going through any residential, and just the function of that we feel is appropriate, and no traffic would be going through any residential areas. And just a few in terms of sustainability, Dado Properties is committed to working towards a greener future. So, as you heard in an earlier presentation, half of all trucks in California are going to be zero emission by 2035. And the electric truck mandate that was approved by the California Air Resources Board requires that all trucks in California must be zero emissions by 2045 as well. So, and as I mentioned, the project will have solar panels. We will be installing EV chargers at this facility, and we'll be restricting vehicles and trucks to idle restrictions to limit any air quality issues, as well as we'll be installing drought-tolerant landscaping as well. And just a few brief community benefits. This facility will be providing around $330,000 to transportation facilities, $80,000 to the Colton Unified School District, $14,000 to local parks, and between approximately $17,000 between fire and law enforcement. And just in terms of economic benefit, our consultants anticipate there being around, creating around 120 construction jobs and around 250 permanent jobs that'll be well-paying. As Dado Properties, as I mentioned in the beginning, we do try, once we identify a jurisdiction we want to invest in, we do, try to make a difference. And try to get involved in the city, and partner with school districts and environmental justice projects, local nonprofits, which you'll see here. And in terms of Rialto, we've included volunteering and community participation for local events such as 7 different Parks and Recs events in the community, and we partner with NSG Impact and Feeding America as well. And I think Daniel mentioned this earlier. We did contribute around $25,000 to the Rialto Police Memorial Fund as well. And not to spend too much time, but we did receive several letters of support from the community, which I hope does prove just that level of trust and the kind of proof that we are having an impact on what we're doing in terms of volunteering in the community. In terms of outreach, we did go door to door, as well as try to get in contact with all of the neighbors within about just under half mile of the facility. To try to get feedback, try to get folks' support. For the most part, a lot of the neighbors in this area are industrial uses. So several were for the project, and we had quite a bit of support, actually. So yeah, with that said, just to end, we look forward to expanding the relationship in the city and the community. We're proud of the development and proud of the design that we've proposed here. We hope to get approval here this evening, and if you have any questions, we have our A&E team and consultants here to assist. Thank you.
Any questions, Stan?
Do you have a tenant?
We do not have a tenant, no.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank
Do
you.
you have any members of the public who'd like to speak on this item?
We have two speakers. Kenny Lundgren.
Hello, sir. If you could please provide your...
Kenny Lundgren. I'm 19598 Harupa. We are the property directly to the west of the warehouse.
Okay, all right.
We're not here to bash it or to propose it. We have been in talks and communication with the developer. However, we do have some concerns, and more have been brought up after seeing this presentation, wherever they are. So I'm going to just name them off so we have a list, and then I'll go down them. One is the wall that's going to separate the properties between our residential and their commercial driveway, especially that westerly driveway. Our patio is probably from here to you gentlemen, from that driveway where the wall will be. Also, the truck entrance and exit, we'll address that as well, a time of operation for the businesses. And then security cameras and windows on the east corner, or I'm sorry, the southwest corner that is 2 stories. And where security cameras will be placed to keep us our privacy. Really, we're just sitting here looking to maintain our quality of life. We're not looking to shut down any projects. We know the whole area is headed that direction, but everybody to the west of us, at least to the corner, is residential. So initially they approached us to put in just a wrought iron fence, told us that was the city's recommendation. We have now had confirmation they're talking an 8-foot wall at us. But now after seeing that map, if that driveway on that west corner now becomes a driveway for the trucks as it was labeled on their plan, those people will be looking right down on our driveway. I have a teenage daughter, my wife, we have a pool. What are we looking at as people are able to look over the wall as they drive in and drive out? As I said, we're not trying to stop a project. We just want our quality of life and our peace. Security cameras, if they're on the building facing out, are they in our yard, or will they be faced a different direction? Okay. The map I have has the gate to the back. The one he put up has the gate to the front. I do have some concerns, one with the truck traffic, 2 while it's vacant, the homeless population in that area, because it does border the county and the city, is pretty rampant. They will stack up in there. I retired as a captain from municipal fire department, so I'm well aware of the homeless problems in the different cities. The driveway to the left, as we've been told the whole time, that would only be emergency vehicles only, but it's 42 feet wide, I believe. It is wide enough for 2 lanes of traffic to come and go. So I guess our biggest concern is on the plans and on the approval becomes that fence line and the quality of life in the wall. They've got a building around the corner over on Lilac, and they have, I believe it's at least 14-foot walls up against the residential, and not 8 and 10-foot walls.
Okay.
And that's what it would take to hide trucks running down that corridor on the west side.
All right, what we'll do, sir, we'll address your concerns right now. You said a lot, and I don't have a pencil with me.
Okay.
So maybe you can just kind of sit in the front right here, and I'll have the applicant come back. We're going to go one at a time with some of the concerns. and then we're gonna go to the next person who wishes to speak. That way, I'm not drowning out what you're asking.
Okay.
All right. The applicant, if we could ask you to please come back up. The first one was the wall. Initially, it was a wrought iron, now it's an 8-foot wall. How is that gonna look?
We were told is 8 foot from grade to 10 foot at the back of the truck court.
Okay,
However, anything driving down above a passenger vehicle will be able to look over into our wall.
okay.
And as I said, around the corner, those walls are much taller against the residential.
Yeah, so I guess in response to that, we did look at that, and we had our engineer put together a cross-section. There's an elevation difference from the front of the site to the back of about 8 feet or so. And I know we put together some cross-sections, which I don't know if we have the ability to bring those up.
So Danny, I think it's a concern here, obviously, all of his concerns seem to circulate around privacy and quality of life. So is it going to be quite easy to view his property from that side with the grade and that wall?
Yeah, I think looking at the cross-sections will help us determine that. Alternatively, we would have options of either requiring a taller wall and/or preventing trucks from using that driveway on Harupa Avenue and just having them all use Lilac. But let me see if I can pull up those cross-sections. If I'm unable to hear, it might be worth doing a recess for me to go and get those and bring them back and provide them for the public as well.
Okay.
Chair, maybe I could suggest we could put a condition on the project that, to work with the applicant to put higher walls to screen the property to the west. And then we do the same thing for the cameras too. The no cameras shall be directed west, and they must be directed on site. That way we assure that the wall height will cover.
Okay.
Instead of, cross sections are nice, but we could put that condition to verify that.
So what line would you recommend for us to achieve that goal on the wall?
Typically, I like to say, per the director, for the satisfaction of the director of community development, we can, applicant will work with staff to, did you bring it up?
Yeah, we were able to get the cross-sections, so if Gabe or Jasmine can share the...
Yeah, I think regardless, I want to recommend, if after we're done, consider that recommendation.
So we have 3 cross-sections here. Let's zoom in a little bit. Oh, that's not zoom, excuse me. No, that's search. Where's it? There we go. Okay, so we got A, A, B, B, C, C. Okay, so let's start with C here at the bottom. So C is a cross-section that's essentially at their house, the neighbor's house, and the edge of the building. And so here on the bottom right, we can see the cross-section here showing the top of the wall and then their finished surface. And we probably want to ask the civil to come up and let us know, because it does say not to scale here, what that height relative to the top of the trailer will actually be like. And then we can see as it goes further north, section BB, which is a little further into the property here, close to the rear of the building. Now that wall is shown as a little lower relative to the height of the truck. It actually has some elevations shown there, actually. It says that the top of the wall, let's go back to the lower one nearest the house, would be at 966.88, so essentially 967, and the top of the truck at 973. So that basically the wall will be 6 feet shorter than the top of the truck trailer. Okay, and then continuing further north, 974 to the top of the wall, 979. So actually, here the wall is getting taller relative to the truck. Here it's 5 feet.
So Daniel, on the other side entrance there, Paul made mention we could not allow truck traffic on that side of the road, the building, but the other side, is there residents on that other side as well? I can't read the map.
On the east side?
Yeah.
Let's go back to the original staff presentation. I think it'll show it better to the commission. Okay, so yes, this lower left driveway, that's adjacent to the resident that is here in the audience tonight.
What about the other one? Is it adjacent to residential?
This driveway here is across from strictly industrial uses, no residential uses on Willow Avenue east of the site.
So Willow.
Yeah.
And what would the other one down there? Not next to his residence, but the other one? There's
This one-
residents there too, right?
Yeah, so this would be passenger vehicle only driveway.
So right now we have two, the way as proposed, there's two truck entrances.
That could accommodate trucks.
All right, okay. We could, I have a solution to solve that problem, recommendation anyway. Now I think the other two questions I have are lighting, shining on his residents, those residents there. How are we gonna mitigate that or avoid it? The second is, limiting cameras to their property only, basically, and not on his residence. And the third is hours of operation on the warehouse. What were they again? Did we have any proposal on that? Any limitation?
We don't have a tenant, so there's no hours of operation identified at this
There
point.
isn't yet?
Not yet, no.
What's been our industry standard that we've been allowing on some of these?
A warehouse, it can operate 24 hours a day. The use is entirely contained within the building.
Okay. All right.
So to your question about the lights and to the residents, the conditions of approval that are in the resolutions tonight, they already have language that requires all of the lighting to be directed away from adjacent uses.
Okay.
So it'll be my responsibility during the plan check phase to look at their photometric plan and see that the light is being directed away, and to get those numbers of what the lighting intensity will be at the poles. So we have poles essentially on that planter between the resident and this development with the lights directed east towards the building instead of a wall pack on the side of the building facing towards their house.
Including the cameras?
And then the cameras do not have that language. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that we add something in. There is a condition about installing cameras in there.
Yeah.
But it probably needs to be fine tuned
Yeah, I
to
don't
say
want Amy filming his
directed away.
teenage daughter or any of that.
Yeah.
crap. So how would we frame that then on the proposed recommendation to adding to the language? So prohibiting, so basically only allowing truck traffic on Willow east of the property? Is that how we would recommend it? Or that's what I intend to propose.
Yeah, one option could be to put a condition that the westerly driveway on Harupa Avenue is for passenger vehicles and emergency vehicles only, no trucks. That would be one tool. And perhaps that condition might need to include something about unless the property to the west redevelops with an industrial use, so that, if it is in the future no longer a residential use, then they would have that ability to use it for trucks.
All right. Yes, sir.
The other option would be is to work with the applicant to do a taller wall. It sounds like the neighbor to the west would be okay with that.
Have you ever heard of Big Red right outside your door? I have, because Target doesn't follow the rules that we have for conditions for them. They're in front of the house, waking up my friend, and the air brake's going off. Those are all window dressing, unfortunately. These things that we're doing on this, but okay. All right. But I appreciate that, Paul. Thank you. Good. All right. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay.
All right. We'll go to the next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Jose Radillo.
How you doing, sir?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jose Rodillo, and I am a proud member of La Yuna.
Can you provide your address for the record, though, sir?
Sure. 1123 Parkview Drive, Covina.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. And I am in full support of this project moving forward. When you have a developer that's committed, working with La Yuna, it gives individuals like myself a opportunity, second chance. It was a project like this one 19 years ago that gave me a second chance in life. I have matured, now I'm a productive member of society. LaYuna enabled me to obtain the skills needed to succeed in today's economy. It created a pathway into society, bridging the gap between poverty and middle class. Projects like these will create jobs for the community, for our members that live here in the community. And I'm sure that this project will give someone else that same opportunity. Utilizing LaYuna skilled trained workers, you could assure that this project will be done professionally, on time, and most importantly, safely. These jobs will create work for our apprentices that live here in the community. I 100% approve of this project moving forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Have any other requests?
We have one more, Jacob Glaze.
Hi. If you can please provide your address.
Yes, good evening, Chair, and good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for hearing our case tonight. Jacob Glaze, 1100 Town and Country, City of Orange, project engineer for that. I wanted to make sure some of your questions were addressed, so I went ahead and wrote some of these down. In terms of the photometric study, we've actually already looked at the photometrics on our end. We are providing glare shields on the back, so ultimately what that will do is provide zero light trespass onto the neighbor's property, so that's already been something we've looked at. In terms of the security cameras, I did just meet with the applicant. I think mounting those on the light poles instead of mounting those on the building will to me allow them to be redirected down the drive aisle, so that would address your concern there. Regarding the wall height, I just wanted to provide some additional clarity on why the 8-foot wall height was chosen. I'm not a semi-truck driver by any means, but we do look at semi-trucks as part of our studies and everything else. The average semi-truck has the top of the window for the semi-truck is at 8 feet exactly. That's a standard procedure across the multiple brands. And so with that being said, we have our wall that's proposed at 8 feet. We have a 6-inch curb right below that. And so when you were to, sorry, I'm gonna look this way, but if you were to be looking at the actual wall on one side, all you would be able to see is the reveal of the actual truck itself. Over the cab portion of the truck, you wouldn't actually be able to see the window. So if someone is driving that truck and able to look out to their left-hand side, they actually wouldn't be able to see over the wall based on the fact that the wall reveal of the window is actually at 8 feet high there. And with the wall being said, it's 8.5 feet. So, or 8 feet, 6 inches. So just want to provide some additional clarity on that. Happy to answer any questions, but did want to provide that context.
Yeah, but he said it was 9'6", so.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we do the motion, you wanted to include the traffic,
I can
lighting and the camera.
Yeah. I can read that off if you want me to. Do you have any other requests to speak?
No, sir, that was it.
Dale?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second. Oh, any opposed? No? Okay. With this one here, move to adopt the attached resolution, Exhibit M, N, and O, thereby adopting the mitigated negative declaration prepared for the project and thereby approving the development and use of 119,908 square feet industrial warehouse building, including paving, landscaping, fencing, lighting, and drainage improvements on 6.55 acres of land, APN's number 0258-111-31, in addition, -41 and -42. Located in the northwest corner of Willow Avenue, Harupa Valley, subject to the findings, conditions therein. Also adding the additional restrictions, limiting all truck traffic to the Willow Street, east of the warehouse, proposed warehouse location. Additional restriction with the lighting, which I think is already in there, so the lighting is not shining on the residents. The other restriction is that camera placement be placed in a manner that does not record the residents' private properties. And I think there was one more. Was there one more? That was it.
Yeah.
Those, any issues with that recommendation, Counselor?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you.
Pen.
Oh, thank you, buddy. The other one, honestly, I should have approved it as well, because I can't freaking homeless living there and all that is better for that area. Alrighty, so, you know what? I hope we answered your question. At least we're trying to help the public.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mr. Gonzalez, my man. All right. What do we have next?
There we go. Good evening, Chair, members of the Planning Commission, Paul Gonzalez, Community Development Manager. This is our last project for the night.
Okay.
The proposal is for a 36,500 square foot industrial building to support the existing use to the west. The applications are conditional development permit 2024-24, precise plan design for site architecture at 2022-047, and environmental assessment review number 2022-048. The project site is located on the south side of Durst. It is just west of an existing building, and this will be a support building, a storage building for the existing use. The site is completely surrounded by industrial buildings to the north, east, and west. And to the south, there's a small ice cream shop with industrial building where they store their ice cream trucks at night. And on the corner is an existing gas station and Jack in the Box. The site is 1.87 acres. It is on one parcel, of course, and is on the West Durst Avenue. You can see this proposed site plan for the site. On the north side, you can see Durst Avenue. They will improve the south side of Durst Avenue, including the street and street improvements and parkway and sidewalk and everything else on the south side of Durst Avenue. Trucks will enter on the shared driveway to the west of the building. And you can see on the southwest portion of the building, there's a small entryway where the trucks will go back and forth to each building. And of course, a parking will be on the south side. The applicant's proposing 11% landscaping around the building on the southeast corner of the site and on the west side of the site. Applicant's using a variety of different colors for the site, breaks and elevations for the small building. As mentioned earlier, it's a 36,500 square foot building, which is about 80% of an acre, just under an acre. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the project as noted in the staff report and is shown before you tonight. The applicant is available to answer any question as well as staff.
All right, you have any questions for staff? I don't either.
Well, I'm sorry, I do have one. On the resolution, there's the second resolution. It talks about some fees paid to the school district. And I wanted to know what those fees are, for what purpose.
The development impact fees, Commissioner, that are paid for every project. That might have been listed specifically in this resolution for that. But there's school fees, there's traffic fees, police fees. Those are just some of the fees that are required for the applicant to pay.
Okay, that was my question. I wanted to know what.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I might add, those school fees are authorized under state law. So school districts are able to require those.
Okay.
It's not something imposed.
It's by square footage, right?
I believe so.
Okay. Thank you. I will open the public hearing. Do you have any requests to speak on this item?
No, sir.
Move to close.
Does the applicant?
Oh, would the applicant like to speak? You've been saved me today. I appreciate that. Would the
Move to
applicant-
close the public hearing.
So, hold on, did we get an answer from that?
No, he just shook his.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, move, okay.
Second.
Any opposed? All right, do I have a motion?
Move to determine the project is categorically exempt per section 15332 infill development project according to California Environment Quality Act, and authorize staff file a notice of exemption with the clerk of the Board of San Bernardino County and adopt the attached resolution Exhibit E to approve conditional development permit numbers 2022 and adopt the attached resolution Exhibit F to approve precise plan of design number 2022-0047.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That was easy peasy. All right, next.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair and fellow commissioners. We have I think our next meeting coming up is December 6th. We don't anticipate having anything before Thanksgiving or just before Christmas. So items would be on December 6th. That's the first Wednesday of the month. So as you recall, we adjusted the meetings to be offset of council's calendar. So we're first and third, and city council second and fourth.
So the 6th, right now tentatively the 6th, but we have nothing scheduled with this.
We have nothing scheduled, but we anticipate a couple items coming.
We do? Okay.
Yeah. We also have our Foothill specific plan amendment, and it's our Foothill Central specific plan amendment that we've been working on for a year now through a grant. We have a couple meetings next week. They're public meetings, a virtual one and an in-person one. It's the last, these are the last public meetings for that project. So we have near final documents and some publication work to do, but this is the last kind of face-to-face opportunity with the public, outside of coming to the next planning commission meeting in January for a full hearing, and then a city council meeting for a full hearing. Obviously, the public can attend those. So, but that pretty much wraps it up.
All right. Good deal. Planning commissioner comments?
Just for clarity, this is for our attorney. When we go through these, requirements for conditional use permit, can we immediately take action rather than what's happened in the past where it gets drawn out and drawn out and drawn out? Could we basically shut them down immediately?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
There's the conditional use permits, when there's a requirement on a owner and they don't follow through with it, can the city close them down rather than allow it to drift out for months if not years?
When a conditional use permit is issued, it's what's referred to as an entitlement. So it's a property right, so there are due process procedures that have to be followed in order to revoke a conditional use permit, and that requires notice and hearing, and so it will take some amount of time in order to go through that process.
Is there a way to shorten it up?
No.
Not really.
It is what it is. I don't know off the top of my head what the noticing provisions are, but I would, just as a rough ballpark, I'm going to say at minimum, you're probably looking at 90 days.
Yeah.
With notice and the hearing, and then if they're dissatisfied with the outcome, then the holder of that permit could then appeal that by filing a lawsuit in Superior Court.
Yeah. It's basically like the old saying, you don't have a right to a driver's license, but once the government gives it to you, you have a right to be heard before they take it away.
Correct.
Once the government gives you something, you have a right to a hearing, to go by, and that's what happens here.
Yeah. And so the first hearing, of course, would would occur before this body.
Right.
And then if it was appealed, it would go to the city council, and depending on the outcome there, then they could go into Superior Court. So it could be drawn out very, very long.
Well, yeah, I think the biggest, I don't know if you were here yet, or no, you weren't here yet. We had a challenge with it's now almost a condemned building now, but we had a lot of crime going on at restaurants, nightclubs, and we were dragging them in here quickly as we could.
Cuchilli Town.
That's what it was, and it turned to a hot mess, and it took a little while, but we were able to shut that down. But it took a minute to
There
do
was
it.
actually a guy shot there.
Yeah, I have been here too long. See, I remember that one there, and then the other one was the skating, the old Holiday Skate that was across, right next to a porn place and a mental hospital, which is a weird spot for it. But they turned that into a nightclub without a liquor license, and that was a problem. Those are the two examples of ones that we drug back here.
No, that was shut down.
It was. That one was easy because of the liquor license.
But I think, where there's clear violation of the code, it's because they don't have a property right to engage in that activity. It's more difficult when you're dealing with an allegation that they're violating the conditions of approval for their permit.
And I know another couple of items. One of them is, I guess there's a ballot measure going either on Europa or another city to actually tax, a road tax, basically on all the warehouses once a year. That was in the paper this week.
Let's see.
I'm sure you'd love to find it. Because I know our streets aren't being kept up.
I think the one thing I'm really excited about, and I sent it to Paul to ask, he was on vacation, but he forwarded it to send to Henry, the city manager, but I want to bring it up again so you guys are aware that what I'm trying to push is that it's a quality of life issue, and the city of Fontana is taking a proactive measure, hiring a private company that is out enforcing health and safety codes related to street vendors, unlicensed street vendors. They've caught some backlash of it, but it is the right thing to do. For one, it is, there's no health permit, there's no place to wash your hands of the food they're serving, and it's this unregulated madness, and it doesn't help with the local restaurants. So is there any way, can we confirm they got that, or do you recommend I talk to some of the council members and try to ask them? I would really like them to seriously look at that, creating that.
Are you talking about asking City of Rialto council members, or are you talking about asking?
Yeah, or the city manager to look at it first, and I'm sure he will, but there's a few articles on it, but basically what they did is they have here's my concern, and this happens all the time. So you have one city that's taking that step to clean up their city, and guess what? People will flow to the path of least resistance. So we're gonna end up flooding the city of Rialto double of unchecked food vendors blocking traffic in some way, which is the only way we can enforce that, make a move. But the health is the one way that they can enforce easily without all those other things. I just think it's a public safety issue. I think it's a health and safety issue, and I'd really like them to look at how Fontana's doing that and maybe replicate it, because the problem's gonna move here rather quickly. Because they're pretty aggressive with it. They're working 6 days a week, the company they hired.
I think most City of Rialto staff, and I know a number of council members, have kept, some close watch on what's happening in Fontana, as they naturally would, as a neighboring city, and also those are their colleagues that they know quite well, typically. There's some things that didn't go perfect that night at that council meeting that had the backlash late into the night and so forth. And so there's a lot of caution there. There's internal discussion here at the city between myself, the city manager, and a couple of the electeds around, and our code enforcement team, and even some of Chief Kling's staff members. So we are kicking around the dialogue of what the state law is and what it allows for in terms of vendors, coming to the right-of-way, which is just what we've all seen, right? And then how do you regulate that is the next question. How do you do it fairly so you're not putting your city in a place to get sued by vendors and things of that nature?
It's the easiest way to get in that.
Yeah.
There's no place, no wash basin to wash your hands, and you have no health permit. that is a
Right.
problem.
Yeah, I think most everyone, nods their head, yeah, you gotta see a health permit for any type of food handling service, so.
But they'll come here.
Yeah. So, but there are discussions here and trying to figure out next steps of how to like harden our code a little bit to be, have some clear boundaries and things like that. But it's not, we're at the beginning stage of this conversation.
Okay, as long as we're
Yeah.
talking about it, and I'll marinate on it a little bit more,
Yeah.
get some time, appreciate it.
I have a question, Paul. I have a question to ask you, Paul. I know that the new center down where the In-N-Out is open up now, and the Walmart is open up. I can't understand what the reason for, if you go into Walmart, you had to go to Riverside and go around and get into the other station. Why couldn't you make a direct route between Walmart and the new center?
Good question, Commissioner, and the only response I could give you is at some point in time when they developed the Walmart, it would have been a good idea to have an internal driveway connecting the two. For whatever reason, it did not happen at the time whenever they developed Walmart. So when the new project came in, there is a difference in grade out there, and that's probably one of the reasons why they didn't try to do it this time. When I came in, the entitlements were already approved, and we were going through the whole plan check process, so it was a little late to comment on it at that time, but I completely agree with you, understand that it should have been, or at least considered an internal connection there between the two.
If I might add to that, in accord with what Mr. Gonzalez said, when that development, the Walmart was approved, it was not required to provide a reciprocal easement for ingress and egress. And so when the In-N-Out came in, the property owner of that Walmart property refused to cooperate and grant an easement. And because of the restrictions on the use of the eminent domain, the city would not be able to condemn out the easement because they're two private developments. And even though the In-N-Out developer made many attempts to try and obtain a reciprocal easement, the property owner on the Walmart property would not grant that.
One other question. I've noticed that there is a growing number of warehouses that are not being used, and they're just, they're vacant. What are we doing as a city to get those rented? Because it appears right now, they come here, there's no tenant, they sit there, now they're not even being occupied, and that kind of defeats what was trying to be accomplished.
Yeah, the first thing we do is that we make sure when any vacant structure is out there that it doesn't, deteriorate into some substandard condition. Now, these are brand new, so it'll take some time for that to happen. But when there's no tenants, there's no rent. When there's no rent, there's no revenue. When there's no revenue, there's a landlord sitting there probably not turning the water on, the landscaping and things like that. That's what we watch for in terms of physical conditions. Obviously, security of vacant buildings is of paramount importance because as they're not occupied, they're more prone to unsolicited visitors that may have overnight stays and so forth and so on. In terms of the economic development side of it, is that we do work with these developers quite a bit, and we do talk around, either businesses looking for sites that we collaborate on with other cities, or maybe a different type of use. There could be a sports and recreation use that could have an interim use for an industrial building. It happens all the time. There's also, other retailers that we talk to all the time. Now, those are commercial retail. It's not really, something that maybe the initial industrial, use was designed for. But as we work with, the business community that is looking for space, and we do that regularly, we do funnel those referrals out to these, vacant landlords, these landlords with some vacancies. The vacancy rate is, sure, it's gone up recently because the market has changed over the last, in 2023, but until recently, it's been near no vacancies. So it hasn't been, It hasn't been physically an issue that's been in front of our face, but we have concerns around vacant buildings because it brings a different element that is not, desired. But we do work with the developers regularly to try to push tenants their way. Now, it comes down to them reaching an economic deal. We can't just push anyone onto them or subsidize anything. They have to reach economic terms to do that. And that's out of, the city's hands.
So this is my opinion, but when you drive down between, I think it's Ayala and Sierra, there's a number of warehouses on the north side that are vacant. So I think there's 3 or 4 in a row, and there's also ones on the south side of the 210. And I'm questioning, is it of any use to the city to allow any more warehouses in the city?
Well, based on vacancy, the code doesn't really describe, is vacancy an issue in your city? Shall you approve a warehouse or not? It's basically all the land use guidelines and requirements within our code. And then the property right of that landowner, if they want to build a building, and have it, entitled, permitted, and constructed and finished and sit vacant, we want a business in there too, and so would they, obviously, for the revenue. They're in this to make money. But, economies, slow down all the time, and vacancy rates go up, and all the various cycles that it does, and we're in a soft cycle right now. In the small and building industrial space, there's a glut of inventory on the market. That's what we hear regularly.
Do we know how many warehouses are vacant at this point?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we can go out and do probably a pretty quick scan of some buildings.
And the reason for my question, Colby, is because in San Bernardino, they have I think was going to be a warehouse, but they turned it into a indoor gymnasium.
Yes.
They had volleyball.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that a possibility?
Those are very real possibilities. They happen in Corona and many other cities.
Yeah.
There's conversion of
In
industrial
Ontario.
space into recreational space because, club recreation is a big moneymaker in itself. It's a
Right,
business.
right.
And so people rent out these industrial buildings and do some minor TIs in terms of a small cafe and a couple things, and they're up and running quite
When you don't have
easily.
the big trucks driving in and out, you have.
Yeah, passenger cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's just a thought.
Right. Right.
All right. Okay. Any of that, close?
Our next meeting is when?
December 6th.
December 6th.
December 6th?
December 6th.
Okay.
Second.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Good evening.